Good morning and welcome to the third edition of the Real-Time Carrier Bulletin. We're bringing you this update in the middle of an enormous Black Friday, Cyber Monday week where we are seeing record volumes going through the ShipIt platform. We've seen an increase of up to 30% on usual trading volumes, making this the busiest month we've ever seen. As some of you will have experienced in the last week, some retailers went quite early with their sales and some waited until the big event on Friday and Monday to launch their sales events. And we've seen record volumes going through last week and this week. We'd love to talk to you today about what you can do in the face of the busy networks and how we can share some information with you around how the logistics landscape is performing as we go into the busiest season of the year. Joining me today is Aidan McGee, a senior account executive from Zendesk in the retail sector. Aidan has worked with some of the biggest retailers in the country, helping them with e-commerce strategies. And I'm delighted he's joining me today to give some tips and tricks on how you can manage customer expectations this peak. So coming back to why we're doing this and why ShipIt, we're pretty uniquely placed in that we get millions of delivery bookings made on our platform every week, giving us a really unique view onto the landscape of logistics in Australia. Today, we're really honing in on one of the key pillars of transparency, building trust with proactive communication. Now that we've entered the slightly less busy sales period and the really busy dispatching period, we're beginning to see delays building up in the networks, challenges with operations, and it's really critical that you remain open and transparent with all of your communications. So let's get into the health check. Each week, we look across all carriers in the Australian logistics landscape. We look at their transit times between the main metro locations and interstate, and we look at how many days things are typically taking between service levels. What we're seeing at the moment is that still metro to metro is performing really well. Most of the locations, Sydney, Perth, are 1 to 2 days. Melbourne's having a few 2-day and maybe 3-day transit times. So it's worth thinking about whether you're using express or standard services there. But on the whole, we're not really seeing a huge difference between standard and express services delivering in metro locations. So it's worth thinking about what service you would use for these locations. We've seen a number of customers request us to use an express downgraded product, which reduces the service level if the transit time can be met for an express service. So if a standard service can deliver in 1 day, then our system will choose that over an express service, which saves a retailer a considerable amount of money. Where we are, however, seeing some extraordinary delays are going over to Western Australia. There have been some recent flooding events and derailment, which has led to some challenges in moving freight from the east to the west. What we've been advised is that the rail network will not be coming back online in some parts until early next year. And this is causing some of the carriers to move freight by road. That's going to add to transit times, but it's also adding to the cost. So what we have been advised from many major carriers is that there will be a temporary surcharge for freight going to WA by road. This is a surcharge that will be charged after quoting. So this will be something that customers will be receiving in arrears. And this will apply until we're in a position where more freight is being able to be moved by rail. So it's just something to be aware of if you're shipping to WA, that there may be additional charges for you. We're seeing most of the interstate lanes hold up quite well. Transit times are as expected for this time of year, but it's worth taking a look and keep checking back on this resource, which you can find on shipit.com under support, just to have a look at how things are tracking when you're thinking about how to plan comms with your customers. So taking another view here, we can just look at the standard and express levels over the entirety of the carrier's network. And we can see that the bigger challenges are really being faced by those deliveries going over to Perth. And there are some localized delays going over to Brisbane too. So it's worth thinking about when you're looking at your strategy for standard and express, which services you're using. So now getting to the tips and tricks. Now that the busy period of sales activity on your websites and in your stores is over, it's now time to get product out of the door and follow up with your customers. It's really critical you think about the post-purchase experience here. It can have a high impact on the delivery experience in general that your customers perceive, and it can really impact their propensity to rebuy from you. One of the things that we talk to our customers about is being upfront at the point of checkout, but it's also important as customers are going through that delivery journey to reach out to them at various milestones and be clear about how things are tracking. One of the key decisions to make is whether you're going to do that with SMS or with email. We find that SMS is really effective when you're notifying customer of a delay, but email is really effective when you're just giving general updates. One of the features of Ship It is the dynamic ETAs that we use in sending tracking notifications from our product. As you can see on the right-hand side, under Everything Pets, the delivery ETA is actually a banded time range. This range is calculated looking at the actual performance that we have seen on the platform between the sending and receiving destination and what we've been advised by the carriers that they can typically achieve. We find that by giving a banded range, we are setting expectations in a much more realistic way, and we are reducing the WSMOs that come in as a result of this. And as you can see from the great feedback review in the middle, when customers are getting the right information through that delivery experience, they are much more likely to repurchase from you, and they are much more likely to share the good news publicly. Now I'm going to throw it over to Aidan to talk a little bit more about how you might think about your comms serve strategy with your customers.
Thanks, Stephanie, and thanks to Ship It for having me on the webinar again this week. What I'm just going to touch on today is being proactive at scale through self-service, especially at this busy time. How do you drive your customers to actually help themselves so that you can handle customer queries and provide consistent and reliable responses during this time? By doing this, when something does go wrong, you allow your customers to not only help themselves to get the right answers, but reduce the effort on your customer service team. It also allows you the opportunity to deflect the discrete or simple inquiries to self-service channels so that your agents can work on tickets that actually require that human touch. What you're looking to achieve from a good self-service strategy is to make the right content easy to digest, easy to navigate, and easy to find. If you can do these three things, if it makes it really easy for the customer, it makes them less likely to submit a ticket to your team. So how do you do this in the short term? Well, what you're looking to create are articles that respond to those most repetitive queries. Where's my order? What are my delivery timeframes? How do I get a refund? And to Stephanie's point earlier, proactive content about the delays to Perth at the moment and things like that. Once that content is created, include clear links to drive people to your help center on your automated responses and on your agent signatures. So again, this easy to find strategy. If you're using Zendesk AnswerBot, when a customer does submit an inquiry, not only do we send back that automated response, but our AI will actually read that inquiry and send back and surface to create the right content that we actually think answers that question for the customer. Again, driving down the level of effort from your customer service team. From our benchmark reporting, we know that a well-functioning help center means that for every 6 people who visit a self-service platform, only 1 will create a ticket. So if we think about that at scale, that's a lot of tickets that your team don't have to respond to while you maintain that high level of consistent customer service. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks, Aidan. That was really useful. And I think to add to that, one of the strategies we recommend to retailers is thinking about how you can incorporate links to your help center and into your help content through all of those proactive communications that you might be sending, and whether you might want to include things on your website, banners to notify of delays, banners to direct people to help. So thank you so much for joining in what is a truly busy period for retailers. If you need to get in touch with the Ship It team, then please use the QR code on this screen. Next week, we'll be talking about how you might want to think about different ship from store strategies as you move into the really busy period and begin to talk about what cutoffs are being approached in terms of delivery timeframes. Thanks very much, Aidan, for joining me, and thanks to everybody for listening in, and have a great rest of the week. Thank you.